You are listening to Know You're Crazy. My name is Susan Denee. We all have crazy. What separates us is how we choose to deal with it. I'm going to be delivering engaging and actionable tools to own your crazy, treat your crazy, and turn it into your own superpower. I hope that you walk away from this show feeling the power and strength within you. And never forget to enjoy your journey because you are worth it. Hey everyone, welcome to the Know You're Crazy show. My name is Susan Denee, and you are listening to Emotional Recovery in the Raw. In today's show, I'm going to be talking about the importance of one thing at a time. One thing at a time. You know, sometimes we can become overwhelmed. Life can feel big. A lot of things can be going on at the same time. And it's a nice reminder that right here, right now, the only thing we have to worry about is what's in front of us. Great saying is be where your feet are at. Take it slowly, but surely, but just one thing at a time. Sometimes this might even mean one relationship at a time, one emotional upset at a time, one celebration at a time. I was recently reminded of how important that is as we watch some close family members have a brand new baby. Such an exciting time, a celebration of life. I've never had a baby before. And if anything can feel overwhelming or really big while you are extremely tired, and sometimes the hormones are all over the place for the woman, it can feel really big and intimidating. And it was just a nice reminder, as he said, we're just doing it one thing at a time. And I thought, that is such great advice for anybody, for any of us who make a change. And changes can be all over the place. Recently I started into a new job, a new environment. I was with one company for 20 years, and then I do this coaching on and did that for 5 years, still coaching on the side. But I started a new company because I have some goals I want to achieve. And so for the first time at the age I'm at, I'm in a brand new environment. I might be the oldest one on the floor. I don't know. But it's really quite a difference. New system, new software, new policies, everything is new. And I like to remind myself that I can only learn one thing at a time. It's going to be one thing at a time, one day at a time. And we love to say that in recovery, by the way. But it is the importance of just keeping it simple and keeping what's in front of you as the priority. As life continues, we experience all kinds of things. Relationships can go upside down. Our feelings can get hurt. And in the middle of that, we still got to get up and go to work, or we still have to show up and feed the kids, or we still have to show up and be of service to our clients. And then in the middle of it, it can get really big and overwhelming and stressful, and we won't always know what to say, or we don't know if we're supposed to do something. And so keeping it simple and really staying in front of you, just what's the next indicated step for you today? Recently I was talking to a friend who is making a career change and all the job applications, and really worried about what's it going to look like, and not quite wrapped her head around what she truly desired for the next career. And so one of the exercises I gave her was, I said, I want you to just sit down and write one thing at a time. What is one thing that you desire? And she said, well, that's the problem. I start thinking, I immediately go into disappointment, like it's never going to happen. I said, how many hours do you want to work? She goes, I want to work 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. I go, all right, number one, I want a job that I can work 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. She said, I want to make $200,000 a year. I said, great, put down, I'm going to make $200,000 a year. She says, okay. And then pretty soon we just start adding to that list. Do you want to feel competent in your life? Do you want to feel appreciated at this new employer? Do you want the new employer to be encouraging and flexible? Would you like to be able to see your children after they get home from school? These are all the things to write down, but it's one thing at a time. It's one desire at a time. And sometimes when you go above and beyond and you start sifting and sorting and understanding what the true desires are one at a time, what you will see is that are the things in your life that no longer fit and that no longer work for you, they will fall to the wayside. They will have their own pattern and their own way to just kind of go away. Some of you who have been in growth before, emotional growth, maybe self-development growth, you'll notice that sometimes relationships go away. Relationships that no longer honor your values or honor who you are today. They may have honored who you were 10 years ago, but then as people get older or as people change, you start to realize these relationships really don't work for me anymore. And so we take one relationship at a time, one incident at a time, and we make decisions as we go along our way. For me, over these last several years, I've lost two very dear people in my life, my mom and my dad. And with that came a laundry list of things. For those of you who have lost parents or someone close to you where maybe you're the power of attorney or the executor of the estate, like there is a lot when people pass on that you have to take over, and you don't even quite fathom how much it is. And every time I had to do this, I'm still doing it. I was still doing it the other day, and I had to sit down and say, okay, it's just one request at a time. It's one death certificate at a time. There's a step in the coaching that I do. I call it the accomplishments. It's in the emotional elevation coaching. And we have a whole session on the sense of accomplishment and how important it is at the end of the day, especially for you folks who get overwhelmed or someone who's living in the should be's. I should be doing this. I'm not doing it enough. You're always feeling like you're behind. You're always feeling like you're trying to get caught up, or you're always feeling like there's a to-do list and it's never enough. And it's not that you're not doing a lot, but it's like you leave out that sense of fulfillment and that sense of satisfaction and really that sense of complimenting yourself and recognizing you've done a good job. So the session is all around accomplishment. And the short version on this, so I'll speed it up here, is you simply are going to take recognition of everything you've accomplished during the day, because it helps with that shoulds. It helps with that laundry list. And so when you've lost the ability to do one thing at a time and appreciate that you've done one thing at a time, I like to take a client back through and say, okay, let's do the accomplishment list. Tell me what you've accomplished today. And it's amazing, even if I'm saying that to you right now on the show and you're listening, what have you accomplished today? Just think about it. And I've done this on other shows. Did you wake up? Did you make the bed? Did you eat breakfast? Did you go to work? Did you make dinner? Did you counsel a child? Did you talk to a best friend about a problem? Like, did you fill the gas tank in the car? Like, when you really stop and think about all the momentum that you had today, and you start making a list of the things you've accomplished, the things that you finished, you'll start to recognize, like, wow, I actually do quite a few things. I was reading on, it was a Facebook post the other day. It was somebody, I'm in a bunch of sober groups, and one of the sober groups was like, what does future tripping mean? Why does that come up? And so in that world of recovery, future tripping is a dangerous place to be, because future tripping usually will leave you with an unsatisfied feeling that you're not getting enough done, or you are so worried about the future that you're not appreciating the present. And so when we return back to what is happening right here, right now, and taking that one thing at a time, that is really appreciating the pace at which you're going, which you're living your life at. The pace is a good thing. We like to say, my husband would like to say, grace for the pace. One thing at a time, right here, right now, all is well. One thing at a time, right here, right now, all is well. The other reason that taking things one step at a time and not becoming too indulged with the list is it gives you time to pause and really ask yourself, do you even need to do the other stuff? Like, is that other stuff even necessary? Because sometimes when you finish the task that's in front of you right here, right now, you realize that the other tasks aren't necessary. For me, starting in a new company and working with an entire new crew and all these things to learn. And as a woman, life's changed a little bit. I'm not 24 starting a job again. So, am I going to retain it as quickly? Do I think I know? And then you've got this whole thing of I'm an older person in a new environment. And, for the first time in my life, I used to be on the receiving end and I'd be interviewing folks who were older. And as an interviewer, I might have my preconceptions or my own projections I'd be putting on this person. And so now I understand why when you're an older individual, and I say older, I'm just saying you're not getting hired in your 30s, maybe you're in your latter 40s, right? But you've got decades of experience at this time. It really is a humbling experience to just sit and take one thing at a time and not project your knowledge, not think you know better, just really sit in humility and learn one thing at a time. It really does keep you in a teachable way with the relationships around you. It's really quite fascinating. I love the fact when people really change it up in their life and do something brand new at whatever age. It's really quite fascinating. You know, when you have problems come into your life, realizing that the problems don't all need solved today. You know, when a relationship hurts your feelings or somebody betrays your trust, there's no need to urgently react or to urgently express how they've made you feel. You get to pause and you get to take your time with that hurt and that pain and really decide for yourself how you want to respond. So you get to take this thing one step at a time. You get to ask yourself, I'm still angry. I'm okay with being angry. Or you get to process maybe another day and say, okay, now I've tapped into the hurt and why that hurt my feelings so much. And then you get to decide, do I want to do anything about it? You know, sometimes I believe we act so urgently and so reactive that we blow things up that we really don't need to blow up. You know, I've talked many times on learning how to identify your own special, unique crazy, learning how to identify when that emotional hijack wants to occur, especially if you felt betrayed, especially if you're feeling vulnerable, if you're feeling defensive, you know, to be able to spot that before it bubbles over. And you know, hurting other people, yeah, that's no good, but ultimately you're betraying yourself because you're not giving your best self when you're reacting with what I like to think is your small self. So once again, we bring it right back to what's happening right here, right now, what is the next indicated thing, and we're just doing one thing at a time. Just going to do one thing at a time. Finances. Let's talk about finances. How important is it to take the finances one thing at a time? So many of us get caught in the financial stresses that we never pause and really look to the future to vision what we would like to see in abundance in our finances, to really sit, project, envision what we would like. We don't set those goals because we're so caught in the rat race of not enough time and not really looking at it and afraid to look at it. And oh my God, it's another debt, or oh my God, it's another expense. And yet we haven't taken the time to really sit and pause and say, what would I like to create for my future? Kind of like when I was talking to my friend about sit down and create, what would you like to see in this job? One thing at a time. Would you like to have real estate? Would you like to travel more? At what age would you like to maybe shift careers? If that means that you're going to make less money, then what does that look like for you? But taking it one step at a time and understanding that it doesn't all need to be figured out, but it is nice to tiptoe in the water and kind of start exploring those things so that you can start to feel more of a feeling of satisfaction and fulfillment in your life. The feeling of overwhelmed can get pretty big. The feeling of my head's all over the place, I can't quite put it all together right now. And then we begin to digress. Then we forget about how important it is to be present with ourselves right here, right now. You know, it's a spiritual practice of mine every morning to get up and to sit with my thoughts, to really see what's going on, and to find out, is this something that I need to turn over to the universe? Is this something that I have any control over? Is this something that I feel something over, or is this just some babbling of thoughts that's a carryover from yesterday that I just haven't squashed yet? And if there's a topic or a person or a situation that has carried over for more than one day, and I've yet to be able to really set it down, then that is something that I might choose to pick up the phone and call someone and talk about. Or that is something that I'm going to do some reading about, some spiritual reading about understanding how to really turn this over to my higher power in a way in which it will quit haunting me. You know, the obsession of the mind is a very powerful thing, and it's sometimes challenging to catch it. It is really challenging to catch it. Recently, we had a situation come up in our family where, I really wanted to defend. I really wanted to, really speak my truth, whatever the heck that was. And I had to let those feelings settle down and take one at a time, one day at a time, to eventually get to the point where I could completely release it and release this person from the obsessive thoughts. Some recent readings of mine have been all focused around how we are intending someone to be. And are they fulfilling that intention by showing up exactly as we see them showing up? Or am I intending them to be higher than what I think they are? And what I mean by that is, when I used to talk about a couple times about if you're raising children, I once went to a acupuncturist, and a great woman. You could tell that she was very particular about her practice, perfectionist, I would say, definitely striving. And she came in one day and she was all flustered. And she had two daughters, and I had only had a couple sessions with her. And she says, "Oh, I'm so flustered. My one daughter used to be an all-star athlete, and now she's not going to school, and she's staying up late on her cell phone." And you could tell that it was really upsetting the mom. She was super, super upset about it. And she was just sharing a little bit about the experience. And to help myself, at one point, I just said, "How often are you encouraging her?" And she kind of stopped and, looked at me, and I said, "How often are you encouraging her? How often are you seeing her in her greatness versus her failures according to you?" We can get caught in a trap where, when we look at a relationship in our life, whether that's our child, it could be our spouse. I've coached couples where they've fallen into that parent-child role, where one, is a stronger partner and they want to tell the other one what to do all the time, as if they even think, that would be appropriate parenting. That's just the best way I can describe it. I've seen that happen. And so, in the scenario I'm giving you now, she was consistently seeing her child as a failure. And trust me, she was reminding her daughter constantly of her failures. If you have relationships in your life where you are consistently reminding them of what they don't do enough of, or they need to be behaving differently, or in your thoughts, you're thinking that they constantly need to be changing it up, one of two things have been going on. Either one, they're going to keep showing up exactly the way you are projecting upon them to show up, because one, that's what they're going to do, but two, it's how you perceive them. It's how you perceive them. And as long as you continue to perceive them in such a way and choose to be in the relationship with them, you will continue to be disappointed unless you make a change in your perspective. It will never be about them changing per se. It's more likely going to be about you changing your perspective of how they show up and appreciating them, as I like to say, as a higher power may appreciate them. And if you're unable to do that, then there might be something unsatisfying within the relationship that maybe you are not able to look at or unwilling to look at because too much is at risk for you to leave the relationship. That can happen. How many of us in our adult years, maybe some of our younger years, have settled way beyond the expiration date just to come out of a relationship and ask ourselves, like, wow, what was that all about? And sometimes we'll even tag some stuff on there. We'll give the sad story that happened. We'll talk about how we were betrayed. We'll talk about how they treated us. But honestly, there were signs of all of that early on that we chose, and sometimes trying to hang in there, but ultimately we were fearful of leaving for some reason. And so if you're stuck in a situation where your perception of somebody is consistently negative, they feel it, you're probably projecting it consistently. Either the look on your face is one of disappointment all the time. And so when this person walks in the room, if your dependence upon their behavior is really important for how you feel, and you are constantly feeling less than around them, then ultimately, that person always thinks they're a disappointment in your eyes. I don't know why I went off on that tangent today. That just kind of came out of nowhere. But yeah, so yeah, I guess that was just meant to be said. And so this woman that we were talking, the acupuncturist, when I said that to her, she started to understand, like, oh, yeah, I haven't complimented my daughter in a long time. I haven't appreciated my daughter in a long time. In fact, I'm just looking at everything she's not doing. And by doing that, our relationship is now strained. How many parents with children are dumbfounded because their teenagers have a horrible relationship with them? Or, oh my God, I got a teenage daughter. Yeah, well, so did I, and I'm doing okay, right? Like, if you're constantly setting your teenage daughter up for some failures because you disagree with anything and everything she's doing and you're not looking at her greatness, there might be a pattern there. There might be a reason why that relationship is suffering, or any of your relationships in your family are suffering. And there's a time, one thing at a time, where some relationships just absolutely have to leave your life. Either there's been a betrayal of trust, it's disappointing, but it does happen. People do behave, and sometimes when somebody's trying to project their thoughts onto you, or their beliefs onto you, or their beliefs onto your family, and it is not acceptable to you, those relationships need to go. At least for me. I don't know about you, but for me. And there might be a round one or round two or some communication in there somewhere. But ultimately, you get to make these decisions one day at a time, one thing at a time, to then decide for yourself, how do I want my life to roll out? As always, I'm always going to push back on you and let you know that you are the only one in your life that can make a change and that can welcome more satisfying experiences, more feelings of fulfillment into your life. Nobody can do it for you. It is going to be completely up to you. It's going to be in uh, the the subtlety of your decisions, the nuances in your perspectives. It's like this, like the little thread, you know. If you want a joyful and fulfilling and satisfying life, you have to be willing to make the decisions that are going to bring that in. And one of the biggest freedoms I've had over these last 2 to 3 years for me was this pressure of ambition to lift. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Like, I think like we're in this culture where we grow up like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then we get into all these speakers and they're all talking about your purpose, and then you'll hear all these slogans like you got to work from 4 a.m. until midnight, and I never took a vacation until I was 90, and so therefore I'm a multi-million billionaire and I've got all this stuff, right? Like, we grow up in this, right? And especially with the social media now and everything that is expressed. But I got to tell you, it is super freeing to me to not have that pressure anymore, to be able to just be like, oh, I feel really good. I feel really good about what I've created in my life. I feel really good about the relationships in my life. I feel really good about starting a new job and keeping it simple and being like, I don't want any of the other stuff. I just want to come in, punch the clock, go home, not bring it home with me, buy some real estate, do my thing, and go about my life. That's all I want to do. And travel and enjoy and love my family and surround myself with fun, fulfilling relationships. That's a good life to me. And so that's been a really freeing thing. Didn't wake up there. It took one situation at a time. Sometimes it took one disappointment at a time in order for those tides to shift, in order to get to a place in my life where I could honor what I truly want for me, for me. So today for you, if you are in a state of overwhelm, if you are in a state of anxiety, if you tend to live in a should mentality, there's never enough hours in your day to get everything done, you feel tired a lot, if you find yourself complaining that you just don't got time for stuff and you feel really stretched thin, then it might be time to kind of take an inventory of your actions and your decisions and just really ask yourself, am I enjoying what I'm choosing today? Am I enjoying what I'm choosing today? Am I enjoying the people that I choose to have in my life today? Am I enjoying them? No, yeah, not everybody. You're going to enjoy maybe every day, but the majority of your time is spent with relationships in your life that you choose. Is the majority, are you living in a fulfilling and joyful existence with those relationships the majority of the time? That's the question. Are you living a life where the majority of the time you feel satisfied or you feel fulfilled or, oh my God, dare we say playful? That you enjoy life, that you enjoy playing, that you enjoy looking forward to the next idea. I was just working with some clients yesterday and we were talking about how easy it is to put fun on the back burner. So one of the categories in the couples coaching and the emotional elevation that I do is, you're going to score different areas. And so you'll score communication, you'll score, this one was fun. as a couple, how much fun do you have? And then I go through a little blurb and explain it, give a little bit of elaboration on what I'm talking about with the fun. But I was saying, it's so easy to put fun on the back burner. It's so easy to put fun on the back burner. It's so easy to be like, I'm busy. We've got this project going on. I got to get this done at the house, or the kids need picked up, or I got to. And so here we live this life, and we're constantly going, and we're doing, and we're fixing, and we forget to have fun. We forget to have fun. And so, we were joking because I said, and it's so subtle how it happens. Mine was like, I was on Facebook Marketplace. I love scrolling through Facebook Marketplace. See the stuff that people get rid of. It's kind of a side hobby of mine. So somebody was selling an Atari. So if you're from my generation, Ataris were the bomb, right? And so they only wanted $100 to get like the Atari, the joysticks, they're called joysticks, yeah, and all the games, like $100. And I was seriously going to purchase this for me and my husband. And then I immediately followed up with the thought, oh, he wouldn't want to do it, and it's $100. And then I dismissed it and I went on about my day, right? And I was working with this couple, and we were in this category of fun. I said, that's how easily it happens. That's how easily we will dismiss fun. That's how easily we will put it on the back burner. We will have a good idea, and we will dismiss it for all these reasons. I mean, really, in the grand scheme of things, guys, what's $100 anymore? What's $100? It ain't much, right? Like, $100 you could spend right now to go have some fun. But it was so easy to dismiss that. Now, what would happen if I bought that Atari? Can you see it? You could see some time, some laughter, some having to learn how to do it, some game playing. In fact, I think I'm still going to buy the Atari. So anyway, so when we're taking it one thing at a time, one opportunity at a time, one scenario at a time, we're able to keep ourselves in check. We're able to ask ourselves, am I feeling fulfilled? And then you get to take it, you get to walk with that pace, and understand that right here, right now, everything is okay. Right here, right now is really all that we have is our presence, is being able to be solid in where we stand right now, to be able to have the emotions that we have right now. And if I'm too far out here in the future and it doesn't feel good when I'm out there, if I'm going out there negatively and not in a vision way, if I'm using my imagination in a negative way and not in a positive way, I'm going to know it. I just got to reel it back in and be present with right here, right now. One thing at a time, one beautiful moment at a time. Sometimes it's one frustration at a time, but it's just one thing at a time. All right. So hopefully you got something out of that show today. It was a pleasure being here. If any of you are looking for some coaching, I'm still coaching. Feel free to reach out to me. You can email me at growthspurt@susandenee.com, Denee. You can go to my website at susandenee.com. There's some things on there about emotional elevation coaching and high performance coaching. Sometimes somebody goes through the emotional elevation as a couple, if that's who chooses to get the coaching. We go through that to kind of get through the communication, kind of get down some basics. It's not therapy, it's coaching. And then we roll into the goal setting for the high performance coaching piece, which is a lot of fun. There's all kinds of layers to the high performance also. So if any of that is of interest to you, feel free to reach out to me. I love to work with individuals. I love to help people get to the point where they absolutely understand their worth and fulfillment in their life, and they enjoy it. So having said that, I will see you folks next month on the last Wednesday of the month. Take care. Thanks.
You have been listening to Know You're Crazy.
Crazy.
And my name is Susan Denee. We are identifying, understanding, and treating your crazy one episode at a time. Tune in to transformationtalkradio.com. To connect with me or Growth Spurt Your Life, please visit susandenee.com. That's Susan Denee, DENEE.com.